Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to this video, guys. My name is Yaqut Zaman. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, enjoying yourselves. This is Saturday, and on Saturdays we do a bit of question and answers, answer some of your questions, and also hear some of your interesting weeks, events, and maybe even jokes. Jokes have stopped, haven't they? MashaAllah, Sharif has come out with some good jokes. And those jokes have disappeared now. Sharif disappeared, so Sharif's jokes have disappeared as well. Right, so ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. Right. Okay, so as you guys are familiar, on Saturdays we have this live session takes place, Roots of Knowledge. Check out my videos, check out the channel, share the videos with others as well. The whole point of the videos, guys, is so that you guys are able to understand Arabic language, Hadith, Quran, Fiqh, inshallah. And the aim is to grow this channel, inshallah, to put loads of content on here that's easy for you guys to be able to understand. And inshallah, it's going to become a sadaqah jariyah for me and for all of you guys who are supporting my channel, inshallah. So let's check out what you guys have to say. TZ, wa alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan, bro. TZ, Muhammad Ashik, wa alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan. Please recommend some books for someone who finishes Dars Nizami. So I would suggest, depending on what you want to go into, I think people who qualify from Dars Nizami normally need to study something or read something in relation to history of Hadith, history of Fiqh, history of Tafsir. Understanding the background of Tafsir and how it developed and the various books in the... So these are the three areas I would... Probably four areas. History of Aqidah as well. A lot of times in madrasas, they don't... Well, maybe it's because there's not much time as well. But they don't really kind of expose students to a lot of the historical context of how books were written and how certain subjects developed. Like, you know, you can almost say the evolution of a particular subject, yeah, or how the books were written. And I think that's very, very important. Yeah, because what tends to happen is students just study the books with regards to the books themselves. So the books are the books themselves, and they don't kind of understand that the books are not just books, they're actually the outcome of the efforts of a particular individual in a particular historical context, right? So there might be a guy who was in the 400s after Hijrah. He was living in a certain context and he wrote this book, and his contributions to that particular science are very important. But what are those contributions? You need to know that. Tayyib, ahlan wa sahlan, my brother Tayyib. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Asad, Allah sabid, wa alaikum assalam. Tayyib, ahlan wa sahlan. I was watching a video, this sheikh said, وَإِن تَرَكَ سَهْوًا فَيُجْبَرْ بِأَيْش. I think the Arabic's come out a bit weird on here. So, بِسُجُودِ السَّهْوِ, I was watching a video of, he said, وَإِن تَرَكَ سَهْوًا بِسُجُودِ السَّهْوِ فَيُجْبَرْ بِأَيْش. I can't find Aish. What does that mean? Aish is short for Ayu Shay'in. Like it's a question, Ayu Shay'in. So Aish, Ayu Shay'. What thing? Literally. Aish. So Aish is a kind of shortened, contracted version of Ayu Shay'. Inshallah, thank you for your work. Jazakallah khair, Allah's servant. May Allah bless you and your family for your kind, beautiful words. S. Dudu, ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome. Purple Plants. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. S. Dudu. This is, the way I say it doesn't sound right. I'm going to call you S. Does the person doing the Ithal Sawab get reward too? Of course. A person will get reward for any action they do, inshallah. Yeah, if it's accepted by Allah, obviously. So if you do something, like if you gave charity and you made intention that it's on behalf of your parents or someone else, then you're going to get reward for doing the act. And then that reward, because of your intention, is also going to be for that particular individual as well. It's like copy and paste. But they don't get the same reward as you because you actually did the act. So they get this kind of like a reserved reward for that particular action. So imagine every action has a reward for that thing that you can only achieve by doing it, and then you have this sort of like a bonus reward. That bonus reward is something which you can share it with others. Does the person doing it have reward? Yes. Hamim, ahla wa sahlan, my brother Hamim. Can you marry Christians who believe in Trinity thing? Yes, in a gist, yes, but it's not the ideal thing to do, especially if it's in Darul Harb. A lot of the scholars are against it. But yeah, you can. If they believe in Trinity, because the Christians that Allah talks about in the Quran believed in Trinity. Yeah, Allah says it in the Quran. And this is why we need to read the Quran, honestly, guys. Read the Quran, read the Quran, read the Quran. Oh, I didn't go into Instagram today. Yeah, so honestly, read the Quran, guys. No joke. Quran is just such an amazing book. Imagine so many of our questions would be answered if we just read the Quran. Yeah. Muhammad Junaid, alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. I hope you are well, Sheikh. If possible, can you kindly help me with a predicament? I am in for paying zakat. A few years ago, I learned from a scholar that it was not obligatory to pay zakat on money in the bank, cash or digital. He said to pay only on silver and gold and land that I may own. And so I did. I've recently started to read into the learn zakat and fiqh further, and it seems that other scholars suggest that paying zakat on cash digital currency is a must. I'm worried about two things: not paying my zakat properly and being accountable with Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, I am worried about the lack of barakah in my rizq. I started officially working just for over 4 years ago. I will have to try and find my payslips, bank statements, e.g., etc., and will have to calculate all my income. This is difficult to ascertain precisely and will be a lengthy process and may lead to me prolonging giving appropriate amount of zakat. I am primarily worried about pinpointing exactly how much I've earned the past 4 years. I have had breaks in employment and have done a lot of freelance self-employment and have done a lot of freelance. Therefore, my questions are: is there a difference of opinion about paying zakat on cash, be it cash in paper form? There is no, I would say there is no strong evidence to support that there is no zakat in there. That's what I would say. You have to pay zakat in cash. Number two, if the dominant opinion does suggest that I have to pay cash currency, then how do I give zakat on my current savings, post savings? Okay, what you do, let me tell you what you do. What you do is, from now on, work out your zakat. And in the past, estimate it on what you're making now and slowly take some out, your savings, and put it towards the past zakat. So you're giving, from now on, you're going to give your zakat on all your assets, whether it's cash, gold, silver. And you're also going to slowly be doing qada, like almost qada. You're making up for the past zakats that you were supposed to give, inshallah. Yeah, and try to estimate roughly what you kind of, if you think that I had whatever I have now, use that figure. And even if you overgive, the extra, inshallah, will be considered to be rewarding, inshallah. Is tayammum done when you can't wash half of the limb or half of all limbs in total? Half of all limbs. Assalamu alaikum. Tafsir al-Alusi versus Ibn Ashur, differences and mumayzat of each. So Tafsir al-Alusi was written by a Hanafi scholar. He was from Iraq. He was from a place known as the Jazeera. And this was basically a very famous place for scholars. And he lived in a time when there was a lot of Shia over there. So a lot of his tafsir, you can see, he tackles objections raised by Shia against the Sunni. So this is a very good book for that, number one. Number two, this book is very good if you want to understand nuances of Arabic grammar in ayats. And number three is Tafsir al-Alusi, Ruh al-Ma'ani is called, is very good for understanding various qira'at. And it's also very good for understanding kalam as well, application of kalam. And it's very good for understanding like suluk, tasawwuf as well, so application of certain tasawwuf issues in there as well. Tafsir Tahir ibn Ashur or Tahrir al-Tanwir, this is a very, very good if you want to understand like a survey view of tafsir and giving his own personal views, which some of them are very good. Also, Balagha is very good for Balagha. Yeah, from Balagha point of view, I would definitely recommend how he tackles ayats and understands the Balagha of the ayat. He also addresses issues when it comes to ayats related to the Ahl Kitab from the Bible as well. So yeah, overall, I would say Tafsir ibn Ashur is a very good tafsir. If you want, but read it as a later tafsir. Read the other tafsirs and then read this later on, near the end. There is Majmu' of Shaykh Zahid al-Kawthari. Is it legit publication? I'm not familiar with the Majmu' of Shaykh Zahid al-Kawthari. I'm familiar with Muqaddimat of Zahid al-Kawthari and his Maqalat. I don't know about his Majmu'. If someone writes a will on how they wish for their money and possessions to be divided after they die, does this override the Islamic inheritance laws and must they will? No, you don't have to fulfill it. If it goes against the Islamic laws, you don't have to fulfill it. Ghaya on Hidayah, what are your thoughts on this Sharh by Zarnuji? It's very good. Yeah, it's definitely very good. But the thing is, it's a bit difficult to read it because he doesn't go into explanation of every single point in Hidayah. But it's very good in the sense that he gives you. So what I would suggest is read Hidayah, understand Hidayah, maybe even read Binaya with it, or even Inaya, and then read Ghaya after that. Can one study Alfiya ibn Malik right after Tuhfat al-Saniyah and Ajurumiyah? They can depend. All depends upon how good the teacher is at explaining. That's all depends on that, honestly. Had my questions ready before. Ahlan wa sahlan. So I wouldn't encourage someone to jump onto Ajurumiyah straight after. Alfiya straight after Ajurumiyah. After Ajurumiyah, study a commentary. Tuhfat al-Saniyah, study that. Then do Alfiya. Is Dalal Khairat the best salawat? I don't know. Is there any easy sharah for Fiqh al-Muyassar, or is this not a good? I would say you need a slap in your head. Actually, you know what? When I was in Pakistan, guess what I came across? A sharah for Tariqatul Asriya and a sharah for Qasasun Nabiyin. And I was thinking, how lazy have students become now? And subhanallah, there's going to be a time when people will look back and say, subhanallah, my teacher used to do mutala from Inaya of Hidayah or Fatul Qadir. Wow. And that's how low the standard's going to become, right? Which, is a sad kind of thing, isn't it? But I think in Pakistan there probably is a commentary on Fiqh al-Muyassar in Urdu. Alaikum assalam. Is it permissible to not pay zakat on physical cash and digital currency and only pay it on nisab in terms of, not to my knowledge? No. Is there any sin in standing, walking on graves? So there's no particular sin that's mentioned, but it's considered to be disrespectful. How do you look after your hair in trimming it? Yeah, it's quite hard. Yeah, looking after hair is quite hard. I mean, my hair is just all over the place. The only reason it looks good on the camera is because the lighting. But if you look at it in normal light, it just looks all over the place. Yeah, so I would say what I did today was actually I washed my hair and I washed it with tea gel, which is normally my normal hair routine. Like you guys like the word hair routine. So I did my hair routine, washed it with tea gel, and then after that I used some conditioner. Yeah, so it just kind of, conditioner helps the itching as well, the hair getting stuck together. Shuvu, wa alaikum assalam. Thank you so much for learning to read the Quran. Jazakumullah khair, Jazakumullah khair, my brother Shuvu. May Allah bless you. Is it haram to take a mortgage if there are rental houses but more expensive? I would say if there is no need to take it, then it would not be permissible. But if there is a need to take it, then, like for example, it's difficult to be able to pay long-term rental, paying rent is too difficult, then there is permissibility. Again, what I would suggest is you speak to a scholar about your situation and then get advice from a scholar. Don't just jump into it. Is it allowed to watch UFC? I would say no, when the body aura is being exposed and the thighs are being exposed and all that. Jazakallah khair. Shall I give zakat on pre-tax or after tax? So you gave it after tax. Yeah, after tax. How intensive was your Arabic study? I studied purely in Arabic for the first 4 years of my studies, pure Arabic. Teacher spoke Arabic, the books were in Arabic. So it was a bit tough for the first few months. It was tough, yeah. But alhamdulillah, no pain, no gain, that they say. No pain, no gain. How are your studies, Sam? Is it extremely sinful for a male to show knees or navel? So the Hanafis say that the sin for showing the knees is less than the sin for showing the thighs. But the thing is, to measure sin and to say this is less and this is that, ideally a person should avoid these things. If we kind of like keep changing the goalposts, moving them, eventually what's going to happen is there's nothing going to be left of Islam. It's all going to be based upon our own whatever we want, desires. So there has to be some limits that we put. If you negatively talk about a person who is part of a group anonymously to get stuff off your chest, and this person guesses who this person is, it ghiba? No. But don't make it too clear, right? Don't make it too clear that it's this individual. Is usul hadith based on madhahib? Like, is there a usul hadith book on the Hanafi madhab? So the concept of usul hadith is not governed by a madhab, as in a madhab does not dictate how usul hadith should run. Usul hadith is basically the principles of how hadith have been passed down to us, and how we sort of like, because what is hadith? Hadith is the words of the Prophet ﷺ. If the words of the Prophet ﷺ come to us, we take it without any hesitation. Like if I was living in the time of the Prophet ﷺ and the Prophet ﷺ said something to me, I would 100% have to take it. Right? There's no kind of using some sort of a methodology to try and take what he's saying. No. So that's basically usul hadith. Usul hadith is this. Now, because different madhahib, different scholars came in different eras and different places, the way that they would ascertain or verify a hadith might have differed. Now, that might have become something that was become like a hallmark of that madhab. So, for example, Imam Abu Hanifa was living in the time of senior tabi'een and even some sahaba. So therefore, the practices that he saw in the society would have been very, very strong practices. Like as in, you're living in a time where the way people pray is, you can almost say, identical to how the early Sahaba prayed, or the Prophet ﷺ prayed. So that's why the way that you would take the hadith would be in that particular manner. But then as time went by, more people came in the chains, then it kind of differed. So the scholars that came later on, the way that they would analyze hadith and accept and reject hadith was slightly different from the early scholars, if that makes sense. Inshallah, you're going to study usul hadith next year, inshallah. Is tafsir mazhari a good one too? Yeah, tafsir mazhari is very good, definitely very good. It's very good in mentioning qira'at, it's very good in mentioning, trying to reconcile tough ayats. Is cryptocurrency halal like USTD? It all depends. So cryptocurrency basically is all depending upon how well it's been accepted by the community, the world. The more established a cryptocurrency is, I would say, the more closer it is to normal currency, and it'll be allowed. And the ones that are just starting off, I would say avoid all those. Yeah, so USTD seems to be okay. Yeah, USTD seems to be okay. Wa alaikum assalam, Muhammad, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. Fahmida, wa alaikum assalam, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. And Hasib Hassan, wa alaikum assalam. شر قصص النبيين سبحان الله عجيب قصص النبيين كالشرع بعيد وقيامت की علاماتों में से. What is the view status of praying 4 rakats before Asr? It's recommended according to Hanafis. Hair routine, Sheikh, in his teenage. In my teenager, I used to have funky hair. I used to have like kind of spiky hair. I had like curtains first, and I had spiky hair. Is student loan permissible? According to Sheikh Haytham Al-Haddad, it is. So student loan is basically, I've spoken to him, and his argument on this is, he says, if you have no intention of earning the threshold before you get charged, then he says it's permissible. The problem is if you start earning the threshold and you've got to pay it back, that's when it becomes problematic. I would say that in essence, it's not allowed, because it's a loan based upon interest. But if you have no other means of making that money, then I would say there is permissibility for you to take it as a necessity. Lejla, I hope I'm saying your name right. Why qada is maf'ul bihi in this sentence, Ustad? Uqsimu billahi are you saying la af'alanna kadha? So because kadha is considered to be the thing that the fi'l is uh, is the object. So, for example, if I say, Wallahi, I will definitely do such and such. So, such and such overall is considered to be the thing that you're going to do. And that becomes the maf'ul bihi. Let's get a skin fade. Wa alaikum assalam. SA, are the rulings for istihadha the same when praying at the haram, i.e. fresh wudu for each salah? Yes. Yeah, that would be considered to be the same. What I would suggest for women to do is carry with themselves a bottle of spray water. So you get one of those spray bottles, put water in there, and just keep it with you. And in the haram, just do yourself a quick wudu. That's the easiest way. What does it mean for a sin to be major or minor? This is a big ikhtilaf, my brother. There's about 5 ikhtilafs that I know about what it means to be major and minor, because we have the terms being used in tajtanibu kaba'ira ma tunhawna anhu nukaffir ankum sayyi'atikum. So the concept of kabair is there. Kabira has been mentioned in ayat and hadith, but we don't really exactly know what the exact meaning of the kabira is. Are kabira those sins that Allah has mentioned in the Quran? Are kabira those sins that Allah has mentioned a specific worldly penalty for, like fornication and drinking, etc., or theft? Are kabira those sins which are considered to be where there's a specific punishment ready in the hereafter for them? Are kabira in relation to saghira subjective, right? So some sins might be kabira in respect to others. So it's like one of those kind of things. But generally, I would say this, that all sins are considered to be bad. All sins are bad because they're all to do with disobedience of Allah, and any disobedience to Allah is bad. But the thing is, kabira sins generally are the ones where you need to ask Allah tawbah for. Minor sins are the ones where it'll get wiped out if you do good deeds. You pray salat, many of the sins automatically just get wiped out. Is there a book that teachers can use when teaching fiqh al-muyassar, not sharh, but maybe something that can give? So I think there should be books like that. But the way that fiqh is normally taught is the teacher has a vast understanding of fiqh. So when he teaches like a particular book like fiqh al-muyassar, which might seem like an easy book, but it's all about how the masala is presented. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're teaching fiqh al-muyassar mu'amalat, you're teaching kitab al-nikah. Students have to understand the concept of the whole concept of what marriage is all about. Like in the real world, from a human point of view, what's the role of marriage in society? Yeah, what the role of marriage is, how marriage works. I don't know why this is frozen. Okay, for some reason my live stream has frozen. 1 second, guys. Okay, back. Yeah, so that's basically, so for example, you need to explain to the students about the importance of nikah in society, because mu'amalat were there even before the Quran came down. People were getting married, people were buying and selling. That's the first thing. So you need to introduce that to the whole concept of marriage and what kind of people, what kind of individuals people get married to, and the problems of certain types of marriage, and like these kind of relationships that people have. And then talk about the whole concept of the judicial system, how important the judicial system is for us to implement the Islamic laws related to nikah. So if you've got in a society, for example, rules regarding nikah, that means you have to have some sort of an enforcing power, like a judicial system, court system, that can enforce if someone's rights are being usurped. Yeah, so you have to have a judicial system, understand the judicial system, how the marriage works, how the witness system works, and also how the society, the urf of society, plays a very important role when it comes to these matters. Like different societies might have a different sort of convention when it comes to nikahs as well, and then which one of those is going against Islam, which one is not. I think that's why mu'amalat is hard for people to understand, because when they're taught in madrasa mu'amalat, unfortunately, many people are taught mu'amalat from a very like a literal point of view. Like the teacher literally translates the masala without painting a big picture of how this mu'amala fits into a society. And if this mu'amala was written in a book that was written 1,000 years ago, what's the differences between the mu'amalat, the nikahs and the buying and selling and renting that took place then and today? What are the new challenges that have come up? So that's what I would say. If you want to read a book that will really help you understand, I would suggest something like, see that book behind me, الفقه الحنفي في ثوبه الجديد. You guys can't see there. 3 volume. الفقه الحنفي في ثوبه الجديد. Check that out. That's a very good book. Like, it's written very easy Arabic. I personally want to write a commentary, but my own style commentary on like a book like Quduri or Fiqh al-Muyassar, which will help. Like, I haven't seen a commentary like it, but it will really help students to understand how fiqh is seen. Because see what tends to happen sometimes. Let me tell you a secret, guys. Yeah, don't tell no one this. So what tends to happen when students study fiqh, the fiqh is taught in a vacuum. When you study fiqh, imagine studying physics in a vacuum without understanding all the other rules of physics applied to it together. It just seems very strange, like the concept of speed and the concept of weight and the concept of energy and the concept of, what light is and what sound is, waves and all these things. It just sounds very, very strange. It's hard to kind of link everything together, right? And then it's like when you study fiqh in this manner, in a very disjointed manner, it doesn't make sense. Like, you can't see how the seerah worked. So maybe it's like you take from the seerah, you take from hadith, and you build a picture for the students. That's a very nice way of doing it, I would say. So this is what in my head, I've got this kind of idea of how I wish that I could do this with. So it might not be a shara per se, but it will just be for each bab, the essential things that people need to know. I'm actually writing something on hidayah at the moment. I'll put it on pause for a while, but I reached about 30, 35 odd rules related to what students need to understand before they actually go into hidayah, right? Concepts that they need to know, which will enhance their understanding. I don't know. Do you guys like that idea? If I had more time, could dedicate more time to my YouTube channel, I would definitely have done much more, inshallah, if I had more time. But unfortunately, at the moment, I'm quite bogged down with work. Yeah, but maybe I was actually thinking of maybe teaching Fiqh al-Muyassar, having like a class once a week or something, late night class, Fiqh al-Muyassar, like I have my Hidayah lesson, just going through Fiqh al-Muyassar and then sort of like introducing students to how it should be approached. Wa alaikum assalam, Al-Mullah, ahlan wa sahlan, my brother, how are you? Ahlan wa sahlan, my Blackburn brother. How can one renew intentions for studies to ensure they're for the sake of Allah? So remember, this intentions is like an elastic band, okay? So when you pull it, your intentions are good. When you let go, you kind of intention become slacking. So what I would suggest is you just regularly get yourself motivated. That's all you have to do. It's like exercise. Sometimes you're really into exercise. Sometimes you become a bit lazy. So just try to motivate yourself. Read up about scholars in the past, things like that. These are the things that will generally motivate. Zob, ahlan wa sahlan, alaikum assalam. If I accidentally make niyyah for Zuhr Fard, Zuhr Fard instead of Asr Fard and realize during Salah, can I change intention? No, you must restart your Salat again. A restart. And Assalamu alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. Can one make dua to Allah in their own language during sujood? So it's allowed in Nawafil Salat, but Fard, you should avoid in Fard. Yeah, so in Fard Salat, try to keep it to Arabic. Just in case you say something which avoids your Salat, Hanafi say. But Nafal and non-Fard Salats have more flexibility in them. You're welcome, Asya. I want to see a picture of you in your teenage years. Inshallah, I'll put one up on Telegram. The thing is, in the olden days, we never used to have these new phones. So pictures were something only when you had like a Polaroid camera, one of those. Fahim, ahlan wa sallam, alaikum assalam to you. What were the factors behind choosing the preferred views of the madhab and who decided? Very good question, Fahim. This requires studying ifta, right? Ifta. So in a gist, I would say, the reasons for choosing a particular position in a madhab can differ from how the dalil works. It could differ from the urf of the society. It could differ from the needs of the society. It could differ from giving ease to people. It could differ from person to person. There's many factors, several factors, which play a role in how the masala is actually looked at. Preference is given to one qawl over another. So there could be one fatwa that was given in the past, and then that fatwa is changed in the future. Yeah, so there's many factors. That's why you study iftar course. Iftar course basically is designed to teach you how these opinions work. I think regarding extra commentary of Fiqh al-Muyassar, the question is saying it's too easy. So is there one that offers more detail? In which case, a good book is Sabil al-Falah, Sharh Nur al-Idah by Muhyiddin Abdul Hamid. It has good footnotes which add. Okay, haven't come across that book, but Jazakallah khair, it's good. When praying sitting down on the ground, should you do full sajda or gestured sajda? Full sajda, unless you're unable to do sajda. Do you drink protein shakes? Yes. I got protein shakes. Salam alaikum. I told my friend that boxing is haram professionally, and he says that famous boxers spread Islam. Can you use the hadith? The Prophet said deen can be held by a mushrik. Yeah, it's a bit silly, that is. I mean, if there's a famous guy who drinks alcohol and he supports Islam, doesn't necessarily mean what he's doing is good. Doesn't mean that it becomes halal. Why do other madhab pray 4 rakat sunnah as 2 sets? The reason is because there's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, Salatul layli wa nahar mathna mathna. One version, Salatul layli mathna mathna. Salat of the day and night is in twos. So they interpret this as being in twos, as in you pray 2, give salam, pray 2, give salam. And Abu Hanifa rahimah, he actually looks at a whole range of hadith of how the Prophet ﷺ prayed. And there's some hadith that indicate that salats were prayed in 4. And some even prayed in 8, like the salat of the Fath of Makkah. So that's basically, it's just how you approach that hadith, how you interpret that hadith. Yeah, they're not a good analogy. Okay, ES wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have savings. Is it better to keep it in interest savings account and give away excess, not expend? Yes, I've got savings and interest account as well, and I just take out the interest, give it to the poor. It's just easier. Do Hanafis pray early Asr in Haramain? So if you're in Haramain, yeah, Sahibain's view. محمد قال الإمام ابن عطاء الله الإسكندري لا صغيرة إذا قابلك عدله ولا كبيرة إذا واجهك فضله. ما شاء الله. Beautiful. There is no صغيرة sin إذا قابلك عدله, when you're faced with it's just his justice. And ولا كبيرة, and there is no كبيرة sin إذا واجهك, when you are faced with Allah's bounty. So when Allah's bounty comes to you, there is no kabira, because Allah will wipe away everything. So it's like saying that those people who have lost hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of sins they've done. And la saghira, meaning that if you knew that Allah is going to be just with you, exactly, treat you exactly what you deserve, even the saghira sins are going to be considered to be major. I heard some pray Jummah, then Dhuhr separately right after Darul Harb. Yeah, and the reason for that is because some of the Hanafis argue that Jummah can only be established by the Khalifa or his deputy, and that's why Darul Harb there isn't any. So some of the Hanafis hold that view. Others say no, it's fine. Right, let's check out some questions here. N. Sa'diya just wanted to ask, if someone was to recite a dua in their head, is that the same as saying it out loud, or does it need to be read out loud? So it depends what kind of dua is. If it's a dua that is in salat, or a dua which the Prophet ﷺ recited verbally, then you must recite it verbally. Yeah, so the ones that basically salat istikhara, recite it verbally. Yeah. What should a student starting to seek knowledge like through Alimiya, what's the basics they can start with? So first, the basics that you can start off with is start off with things like learning Arabic stories. I've actually put some new Arabic story books on my on that Google Drive, on the Google Drive where I have Arabic books. So check on there. There's a collection I've been looking for called Madarij al-Qira'ah. So there's 4 volumes. I've found 3 of them. I just can't find volume 3. So I found volume 1, 2, and 4. So this is apparently a very good book. It's been published like over 35 times. So it tells you how good the book was. So it's basically gradually, it kind of gets you into reading Arabic stories from like an easy, I would say it's better than Qasas al-Nabiyin in the sense that it gets you into it. In fact, Qira'at al-Rashida has taken a lot from this book, I found. Yeah. So check it out. Akhi, I heard from a brother that Abu Hanifa opinions are weak since he wasn't a traveler. I think that statement is weak, my brother, because Abu Hanifa traveled many times. He traveled apparently to Hajj over 50 times to Hajj. So if you're going to go to Hajj, you're going to go to Medina, you're going to go to all these cities. If you read his biography, you'll find how much he traveled. So I think that's an unfair statement. Real basic. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is it permissible to have some painting in the house with verse of the Quran? Yes. Salam, ahlan wa sahlan Zishan. So will you do more Kitabun Nikah from Mukhtasar al-Quduri? Inshallah, when I reach it, I will do it, inshallah. Anas, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. If a lady feeds her milk to an infant baby boy and is therefore milk mother and mahram, is the woman's sister also mahram? Yes. Sukatu, I hope I said your name right. What is the explanation of the hadith of wiping the jawrab? Is it ignored if you prayed years without wiping with wiping thin socks? How should one go about calculating? So I would say if you have done it in the past, then you don't have to make those salats up, right? Because there are some ijtihads which allow that, even though they might not be the mainstream ones. Because the Hanafis have a statement or a rule, which is that anything that you have done in the past, as long as it fitted in with one of the sort of ijtihads of the past, you don't have to repeat that again. But from now on, if you do it again, then you have to repeat it. If someone enters masjid for e.g. Asr or Dhuhr, should they pray 2 rakats Tahiyatul Masjid, or can they pray the 4 rakats Sunnah combined? Yes, they can do that. Sunnah combined. Can you please write the title and the author of the book you just recommended? Yes. The author, in fact, I can even do better than that. You know what I'll do? I will actually show you and give you a link to the book. Al-Fiqh Al-Hanafi wa Adillatuhu. Here it is. You know what? Subhanallah, look how Allah blesses us with access to so many books around the world. Okay, so let's see if this version is good or this version is good. Which version is good? Okay, here you go. Al-Fiqh Al-Hanafi. Here you go. Okay, Mufti, since Hajj, back up. Okay, in adopting a child, must the adopted parent tell the child later that he's not their biological son? Of course, yes. Are they ever allowed to change his surname and pretend he is their birth? No, you can't deceive, because then it's going to impact on other rules. Yeah, it's going to impact on other rules like inheritance and all that. So you have to, Allah says in the Quran, "Udu'uhum li'abaihim huwa aqsatu 'inda Allah." Yeah, so call them by their parents, meaning make sure they know that you're not their biological parents. I have a question about Raf'ul Yadayn. It seems like it's absolutely secure because there are simply too many hadith on the topic. Imam Bukhari wrote. Yeah, so Hanafi say it's fine to do Raf'ul Yadayn, but the Hanafi say it's preferred not to do it because there were more Sahaba. From the practice, there were more Sahaba who actually didn't do it. So if you look in the cities of Kufa and Medina, there were actually more reports that it wasn't done by Sahaba. Even though the chains of hadith regarding the Raf'ul Yadayn are strong. Yeah. So this is why Hanafi say both are jaiz to do, but it's more preferred not to do it. Who's the best scholars in today's times? You're lucky name. Astaghfirullah. And if your prayer was null according to a madhab before studying the madhab, do you need to make it up if the salah is accepted by at least one madhab? Yes, you don't have to make it up. Since Hajj was ordained on Ibrahim alayhi salam, did the Anbiya after him also implement Hajj? So we don't know if it was ordained on Ibrahim alayhi salam. Is there any opinion in the Hanafi madhab that allows for combining Salah as a musafir? If one does it in Hanafi madhab that allows, would it be classed as problematic? So Hanafis don't allow combining. What Hanafis do allow, some Hanafis do allow, is between the Asr and Zuhr, right? That kind of between the one shadow and two shadows, you can pray in that time both salats. Brother, why are the Hanafis not allowed to combine prayers during serious times? So good question. So the reason is because there is no proof ever that the Prophet ﷺ, now this is a serious point, this is no proof ever that the Prophet ﷺ ever combined categorically 100%. Yeah. So it comes in a hadith that he says he prayed his Zuhr and Asr, but it doesn't mention that he combined it in one salat time. Not even one authentic narration. Yeah, so that's why the Hanafis say the only time that it's actually been mentioned is in Hajj. That's the only time it's been mentioned. Have you studied all the four fiqhs of Shaykh? No, I haven't. That would be very beneficial, stars. Please let us know. Yeah, inshallah, I'm thinking about it. There's so many things I want to do. I want to actually do a whole series on Matn al-Manar. But I'll see, inshallah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Motivate Station. Yeah, I would take any class of yours, Ustad, even Fiqh Muyassar. I always learn new things, alhamdulillah. And alhamdulillah, doing very well. Currently have a lot on my plate. Please make dua. May Allah fill your plate with barakah. Also, how did we take part in the Hidayah lessons? So basically, send me email, and I'll give you a link to the Google Classroom, and then in there's the link to join. So every Wednesday at 10:30 p.m. 10:30 p.m. How many students usually join Alimiya in first year, and how many graduate in the end? So in the full time, usually it's about between 10 to 15 people, and in the part time, so in the full time it's 10 to 15 people in the beginning, and then by the end there's about maybe between 5 to 10 remain. And in the part time is like, I don't know, 80 people, 90 people that start off, mashallah. And then in the end we have like about maybe 10 to 15 people. So a big drop. Also, recently had the beautiful opportunity of touring UK with Sheikh Salman Mullah. Alhamdulillah, very intellectual, mashallah, mashallah. I saw some pictures of that. That's chilling out with the sheikhs. You're becoming a half sheikh yourself. Is dropshipping allowed? It all depends. It all depends exactly how it's done, but potentially it can be allowed. Wa alaikum assalam. If I say alf salat wa salam alayka Rasulullah, do I get the same reward as if I had said no? You don't. No, you don't. So it's like saying if I say 10 subhanallah 10 times, you don't get it rewarded 10 times. How important is it to believe the most virtuous of the Sahaba is Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Uthman, Ali? Is it allowed to believe a different order? So you're allowed to believe a different order, but this would be going against like the majority view that's been passed down from the days of Sahaba. That's why they mention in the books of Aqidah. So the Afdaliyah is for Abu Bakr and Umar. In Quduri Matan, sometimes I see Ukhra and sometimes Ukhra and Ukhra. In Pashto, Ukhra means eat. But I couldn't figure out, I can't even tell what's the difference. Ukhra. What is the reason that sometimes Hamza has a... Oh, Hamza. Maybe it's I don't know, if you have the pictures, if you can send me some pictures of it, I'll have a look. But maybe it's a print error. Irfan, ahla wa sahlan, wa alaikum assalam, my brother Irfan. Long time, my brother, long time. Hope you're well. Enjoying yourself. Muhammad, when you refer someone to open a bank and the bank gives you and the other person £5 for example, are we allowed to accept this money? It's a good question, isn't it? I would say no. I would personally say no, because the bank's income is generally considered to be riba. So I would say no. That money should be given in charity. I heard one can do talfiq of different madhabs of things that are separate, like Hanbali. Wudu Salah. Can you also do Talfiq and Benda? I've not come across this. Who is the best scholar in our times according to you? See, the whole point of a madhab is that you follow a structured way of understanding Islam. If you don't follow a structured way of following Islam, you're going to come out with your own Frankenstein version of Islam. That's the scary thing. It's like when you study, let's say, medicine, you study a medicine which is a structured way, methodology, how you approach things. If you start taking from Chinese medicine and this medicine and that, and it just becomes all messed up, right? You have this kind of mishmash, this kichri. Who is the best scholar in our times according to you, dear Sheikh? I have no idea, honestly. Because to say who is best, I would have had to study with them. I have to know them intimately. So it's like saying, I don't know, who is the best chef in today's time? Do you know? Just because someone comes on the TV a lot doesn't mean that they're the best chef. It's like one of those ones. Where can we find the link to the Google Drive where you share? So what I will do is I will actually put it on here. My dear brothers and sisters, let me put it onto here. And then, ya Allah. Today I went for a dinner today. Well, mashallah, one of my friends' son has done completed hifz. So it's a very, mashallah, proud moment, alhamdulillah. So I was very proud because I used to go to his house and he was really young then, and now, mashallah, he's finished hifz. It's so nice. Okay, so Arabic reading. I went there, ate loads of food. I had to give a talk as well. Arabic. Oh, I haven't done Curious Cat, have I? Yeah, none of you guys reminded me as well. Shame on you. Shame on all of you for not reminding me. Is it true that Fatiha and Surah is only in 2 of the rak'at of Zuhr and Asr wajib? If so, does the Imam have to read the Surah aloud in the third? Yes, that's true. According to Hanafis, that's true. So according to Hanafis, because the Quran says, فَقْرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ, read whatever's easy of the Quran. So long as you have read in the first 2 rakats Quran, you don't have to read it in the last 2 rakats. In fard salat, in everything else, you have to read it in every rakat. The sadr allowed in salat. So according to Hanafi, it's considered makruh not to fold your arms. Also, is dancing haram? If it's in a way which is shameful and it's, it's something which is not befitting the status, dignity of a Muslim, then no. Some say Abu Hanifa rahimahullah wiped over cotton socks. Is that true? So thick socks, yeah. So in them days they had thick socks. It's called jawrab. So it's like a thick kind of sock, really thick. Okay, so Mahir is saying also, Sheikh, I have another question. If a man is allowed to tie their long hair like a man bun, I know it's a feminine style. So if in a society that kind of hairstyle resembles women, then no. Otherwise, if it's something which men generally do, then there's permissibility for it. People that joined your Telegram, can they see or only you can? So I can see everyone who's on there. No one else can see them. Yeah. In fact, I can even message them as well. I just realized that I can message them. But no one else can see them. People, I have found many weak opinions in Fiqh al-Hanafi wa adillatuhu. I remember there was a section where most of the positions taken are weak. Might be the author's personal ikhtiyarat. Like there's a lot of positions in other books as well. Like Sheikh Salah al-Hajj was telling us where is it? Nur al-Idah as well, and Hadi Ala'iyah, and even Fiqh al-Muyassar. For a student who studies Alim course but hasn't touched Arabic for 2 years, what's your advice in getting Arabic strong again? Read as much Arabic as you can. Really get yourself into it. As much Arabic as you can, honestly. That is the best way you're going to. Are there specific du'as you can read during tawaf and sa'i? I don't know. Regarding the reading of Zuhur and Asr, do you mean it's allowed to read Zuhur and Asr together if you pray Zuhur in the Shafi Asr time? Yes. According to Sheikh Anwar Shah Kashmiri, he holds that view. Are you Afghan? I am Pakistani, but I speak Pashto. Can you recommend a Hanafi book about the evidence regarding Raful Yadain? So what I would suggest, if you want to read more about this, there's a whole Sheikh Anwar Shah Kashmiri has a book called it's called Nail al-Farqadain fi Raf' al-Yadain. Nail al-Farqadain. Nail al-Farqadain. So it's a very comprehensive book. If you want a shorter version of it, then read in Ma'arif al-Sunan under the chapter of Raf' al-Yadain. Sheikh Yusuf Banouni has summarized the major points regarding it. I've seen some people say we should read Dhuhr again after Jummah in the UK because living. I don't hold that view. I don't subscribe to that view, but there are some that do say that. Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Came back from family holiday from Konya, mashallah, Turkey. It's good, alhamdulillah. I need to go there. I heard they have air balloons there. If someone affirms Afdaliyya for Ali, is there any problem with this madhab? So it would be considered to be not the mainstream position of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Are we allowed to earn cash back from websites that track your shopping? It all depends on the terms and conditions, because you can't just say whether it is or not. Do we need to give zakat on business goods that haven't been delivered on your zakat date? So is it a receivable? What is it? So basically, is it something that you have purchased with cash? Have you purchased it? If you have purchased it, then yes, you have to give zakat on it. If it's something that you have not purchased, as in something which has come to you but you haven't purchased it yet, then there's no zakat on it. Was the da'wat with Gujaratis? No, it wasn't. It's Pakistanis. Alaikum assalam. Ahlan wa sahlan. Can you make the session earlier? Unfortunately, that's the only time I come back from work. What is Imam Abu Hanifa's evidence for the dual shadow length being time for Asr apart from the hadith on the reward? So what I would suggest, if you want to read more about this, number one, read the section of Imam Muhammad in his Muwatta. Number one. Number two is read the section in I'la Sunan on the Zuhr time, Asr time, and read Ma'arif Sunan. Right? These are three places I would definitely recommend to read that. And the evidence, there's many evidences that are used. Like, for example, there's evidence with regards to the hadith of Jibreel. So there's two types of hadiths about the times of Salat. One is the hadith of Jibreel, and one is the hadith of the man in Medina. It's a very long discussion. But Abu Hanifa rahimahullah says there's no categorical, clear-cut evidence that says Asr, Zuhr ends at one shadow and Asr starts. But there is clear-cut evidence to show that Asr is prayed after two shadows and Zuhr is not prayed after two shadows. We forgot Curious Cat Sheikh, but Allah has forgiven the forgetfulness. Allah, kya baat hai, husn al-dhan. Look at that. This is the kind of people I need around me. I would definitely need this kind of people around me. Sheikh, any books you would recommend for foundational Aqidah? I would definitely say, first of all, read the Quran. Translation of the Quran, read it with a teacher, scholar, and then go into Aqidah. Because see, what happens is, if you don't know what the Quran is saying, Quran is basically the Aqidah book. That's where everyone gets their Aqidah from. So Quran, honestly. Usman, mashallah, long time, mashallah. Ustad from Medina Munawwara. How are you? Ahlan wa sahlan, Usman. Hope you're well. Hope you're enjoying yourself there. Make dua for us over there as well. I may be going to Umrah in December, guys. I may be going to Umrah, inshallah. Make dua. It happens. So this December, inshallah. I'll maybe put up some details of that on the Telegram. Do you have any online classes that you teach now, Ustad? And could you please tell us what is the fee? I don't have any. So basically, look, let me tell you this. I teach full-time. All right, that's my job. Daytime, morning I teach, and then I teach in the evenings. So I teach full-time Alamiya course. Right, so that is something which obviously you can't join unless you join the institute. And that's not online. Then I also teach some of the patrons. So I have a patron system where people support my channel, donate towards my channel. And I have basically certain tiers that get like one lesson a month or two lessons a month, depending on what tier they take. So I teach that separately. So there's one guy I teach him Mutanabbi, one guy I teach him Aqid Tahawiyya, and there's another guy I teach him Mukhtarat. And then there is also I teach, and those are obviously private for the patron. And then I also teach free of charge. I teach Hidayah, which is on Wednesdays at 10:30. Yeah, Wednesdays at 10:30 p.m. What protein shake brand do you use? I use this one. Is it called PDH or PDH, PhD, PDH? I can't remember. It's like a white cover with red, sort of like a thing on there, writing. If you message me, I'm telling you, I'm famous. Sukatu. Are any of the chemicals in the water system najis, like possible hormone blockers? No, not necessarily. I mean, the rule is if they are najis, because the water is so much and it's moving, according to Hanafis, the water does not become contaminated. How do Hanafis interpret the hadith of Jibreel salam, given that it doesn't describe the times as in the Hanafi school? So interestingly, if you read the description of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu about this, you'll see that there are a lot of discrepancies with regards to the Zuhur time and the Asr time. That's the issue, which is not very clear cut. That's why Imam Abu Hanifa has, with regards to the Shafaq of after the Maghrib, and with the two shadows issue, one or two shadows issue. So Imam Abu Hanifa actually has 3 qawls with regards to what time Zuhur ends. One is it finishes at 1 shadow. One is it finishes at 2 shadows, and one is actually finishes at 1, and the time between 1 shadow and 2 shadows is a muhammal time. Sakina, can you please make more videos on different types of letters, different ba and min, inshallah. But at the moment I won't be able to, but hopefully in the future, inshallah. You know the problem with me, let me tell you, Sakina. I start something and then I get so interested in something else that like a frog leaps from one place to another. I leap to another thing. I need to have a peer. I need to have some proper, hardcore, strict peer that kind of controls me and tells me, right, you got to finish this series before you're going to start a new one. And sometimes I feel sorry for you guys, because you guys say to me, oh, please share, can you start this? And then I feel sorry, and then I think, okay, let's start this then. If it's purchased goods but not received, does this mean zakat is due on the goods purchased through salam transactions? So look, let me tell you this. Imagine our business. If I have cash, yeah, and I purchase something with that cash, whether I've received the item or not, I have to give zakat on it, because that goods is in exchange for the cash that I have. So once I receive them, I have to backdate my zakat. So it's called cash receivables. Yeah, cash receivables. So does this mean zakat is due on goods purchased through salam transactions? So if a person has purchased something through salam transaction, so technically, yeah, it's a good question, Technically, I mean, if the guy bought the goods for sale purposes, that he's going to resell them, then there would be zakat on there. Yeah, there would be zakat on there. Wallahu alam. If one has a verbal agreement with another brother to buy something but decides afterwards that they no longer want the item, is it okay not to purchase it off him? According to Hanafi fiqh, if you make a verbal agreement and that's understood as an agreement, then you can't back out unless the other party mutually agrees to void the contract. Can you send the Telegram link? Yes, I'm my browser. I can send it and send it to you. Telegram link, man. Let me check. Telegram. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second. No, I've got it somewhere here. Aha. Link to Telegram. Here it is. Link to Telegram. There you go. Have you ever been a scholar leader for an Umrah travel group? In fact, once I was here. I just kind of give little talks and just answer questions. That's all. So it's nothing special I do. In the Mukhtasar Al-Quduri, how do you know if the fatwa is from Imam Hanifa or from Imam? So you don't know. You can't tell from that. If you want to know, then there's a commentary that comes with it called At-Tashih wa Tarjih by Qasim al-Qutubugha. Right? And that is basically the way that you can tell which opinion has been taken by later scholars. How to reconcile لا تتخذوا آباءكم إخوانا أولياء إن استحبوا الكفر على الإيمان and the possibility of marrying كتابية. So this is to do with if they become the ayah is لا تتخذوا آباءكم إخوانكم إن استحبوا الكفر على الإيمان is talking about if they are like bent on kufr, as in you always give preference to your Muslims over them. So if it means allying with them, no, you don't ally with them, you ally with the Muslims. And obviously if you marry a Kitabiyya who hates Islam, then it doesn't make sense why you're going to marry her for. Are you going to buy iPhone 15? No, not into iPhones. What chapter are you covering? What chapter are you covering in Hidayah? So at the moment we're going through fasting. We just reached up to witnessing the crescent. Has Roots of Knowledge ever met Mufti Liaqat? Roots of Knowledge is always with Mufti Liaqat. You don't know. They've got like that kind of relationship. Is wudu valid over the facial makeup women wear, a foundation? If it is thick and creates a crust, like a thick crust, then no. Otherwise, there's probably will. I mean, I don't know all the makeups that women wear. So you guys would know that. How about eyelash mascara, which is waterproof? Again, I'm not too sure about that because I haven't really kind of researched it. Is it true Shaitan cried? Probably. I mean, is a jinn. Or Sheikh, is that a new 4-year fiqh course equivalent to a iftar course? I would say that if a person does it really well, it would be equivalent to an iftar course, in the sense that you gain the same skills. You would obviously have to, I mean, you don't get a certificate of the same level, but you would have to basically do a lot of years of training after that in order for you to get to a good level of fatwa. Yeah, but I would say definitely it's very, very similar to it, if you do it very well. Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad Zahir, ahlan wa sahlan. I spoke to a Hanafi Maulana and he said it is not permissible to watch images, videos on screen. Please, can you? Bro, if you've asked him, then you're going to have to take what he says. I disagree with that. What oil do you use in your hair? Baby oil. I actually put baby oil in my hair today. Yeah. So again, Muhammad Zahir, the thing is, look, if you're going to ask one Hanafi's opinion about something, you need to ask him what his dalils are. And then that would basically give you an understanding of where he's coming from. So there's nothing in Hanafi fiqh explicit to say that watching an image or a video is not allowed. Nothing from Abu Hanifa, nothing from them. So therefore, the later scholars, whatever they come out with, it's going to be an ijtihadi issue. Can a person have intercourse after nikah before rukhsati? And if so, when should the walima take place? Ideally, the walima is taking place after intimacy, after consummation of the marriage. But if it doesn't, it's fine. Okay, let's check out Curious Cat, guys, because I'm sure there's some of you guys anxiously waiting, saying, how comes he hasn't answered? Kitabe, kitahuise. Okay, that's the only Bangla word I know. Mahir, would you recommend studying the Medina books as a side book without a teacher? You can do. I know people who have done it without a teacher. Actually, I know someone who did my Quranic Arabic lessons, did my Surah Yasin lesson, and then what they would do is they would go through each lesson of Medina books and do all the exercises and send it to me, and I'll check it. And they actually covered a large portion of it. So that can be done if you're very focused. Definitely, I think can be done. Okay, let's check out some curious. Are we allowed to make mini hair plaits in the beard? Yes, it's allowed, but if it's not something that men do in that culture, then it should be avoided. But if you're living amongst the Vikings, then it's okay. Then otherwise, no. Why do some male scholars keep hairs in between the eyebrows if it is permissible to remove? Like me, you mean? Is it sunnah to keep the hairs? I think it's just a birth thing. I think it's just a birth thing. I don't think they do it religiously. Yeah, I mean, if someone wants to remove eyebrow hair or not, then that's totally up to them. How did many Sahaba and Sahabi marry, but they did not have children despite their marriages being very long? Was there an intentional practice prevalent at the time to prevent them from having children? If many Sahabiya did not have children, including some of the wives of the Prophet, why do we have the problem among the culture stigma towards people who don't have children as though they have some kind of problem? Okay, so many Sahaba didn't have children. Many Sahaba didn't have children. Okay, so first question, was it intentional? Some may have been intentional, and others natural. Yeah. So something Allah in the Quran says, uh, Allah He gives some people male children, some gives them female children, some gives them both, some He doesn't give them any children. Yeah. Allah does whatever He wants. So again, it's just one of those natural things. Aisha radiallahu never had a child, even though she really wanted one, but it's just one of the qadr things. Yes, I agree. Unfortunately, in our society, especially society, many cultures frown upon people who can't conceive. Yeah, so it's unfortunate, sad thing. But it's just one of those sad, kind of things that people, especially I think in Asian families, it's a big thing. A woman hasn't had a baby for a long time. Kulthum radiallahu anha married Uthman after her sister Ruqayya passed away. Islamically, can two sisters marry the same husband while they're both still alive? Yes, as long as they aren't married to him at the same time. Yeah. Salam. Is wiping the neck included in wudu according to Hanafi madhab? Salam. There is ikhtilaf in this issue. Some say it's allowed, others say it should be avoided. Salam. Is it allowed to take out maintenance loan for university? Salam. If there is a dire need for it, then yes. Otherwise, no. Is organ donation allowed in Islam? Can we donate organs while we are alive for scientific experiments? Okay, so what I will do is I will put organ donation of the Zubair. But okay, so organ donation. Actually, give there's a big fatwa here, and I'll give this. Okay. Okay, so this is the position I take. If someone underwent gender reassignment surgery in their days of ignorance, what gender are they considered once they enter into the fold of Islam? Are they allowed to marry? So they will be according to the gender they were born with. That's basically whatever gender they were born with. That's it. So if they were male, they can't marry another male. If they're female, they're female. Okay, this question is, Salam, does a person have to make sajda sahwi if they sit for tashahhud after second rakat and also third rakat accidentally in a 4 rakat salat? And I said, yes, you have to. If they didn't because they didn't know at the time, is the salat valid? Yes, it's valid. It's valid. Okay. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What type of hardware software technologies would you recommend for students of knowledge for taking notes? Salam. I would recommend, because I've got one, recommend an iPad or iPad. Yeah, I would recommend iPad. I don't know about the other ones. And the software, as for the software, then you can use OneNote or Notion. These are two good ones, I would say. OneNote and Notion. Sam, in order to not to mess hairstyle for wudu, can a man wipe his hair in the direction, e.g., left to right, top of it, then side? I understand this is obviously different. Salam. Technically, yes. Technically, yes, he can do so. Okay, let's check something out here. Ya Allah. Okay. For the scholars who believe Iblis was an angel, how do they reconcile this with the fact that angels don't disobey? So what they would say is basically there are different categories of angels. So there's one type of angels that don't disobey, and there's another type of angel, like a different grading, like a semi-angel, you might say. That's what they would say, but this isn't the major position. Okay, Jazakallah khair. The reason I ask you is because Maulana is the Mufti. Much you're welcome. Run a question, but do you road rage like? Yeah, I think so. I do, you know. I try to control it, but in the Hanbali madhab, for example, if there was a mas'ala not spoken about before Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, then Ibn Taymiyyah's fatwa becomes the mu'tamad. Is there anything like this in the Hanafi madhab? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There's a kind of something similar, but not necessarily. Would it's appropriate to say the is in Arabic is kana tama mahdhuf? Would it be appropriate to say is in Arabic is kana tama mahdhuf? Not necessarily, no. I wouldn't. There's a man who goes through all three Medina books. He is a direct student of the author, page by page. I started my Arabic journey there. Brother Asif. Oh, yeah, Brother Asif. It's still on YouTube. Yeah, mashallah. Yeah. Is it haram for women to pluck eyebrow hair? So as long as they're not shaping the eyebrows, it's just to kind of make them more presentable. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Ahlan wa sahlan Murad Ali. Long time, it's been a while, mashallah. Hope you're well, enjoying yourself. Murad. How do we understand the hadith? By his good character, a believer will attain the degree of one who prays during night, I will fast in the day. So basically, one of the interpretations of this hadith is, see, good character is a good action, and praying at salat is a good action. However, good character requires you to mix in with the community, whereas praying tahajjud is an individual act of worship which doesn't require anyone else. So because the test in the good character is stronger, because you have to mix with other people and their temperaments and all that kind of tolerance you have to bear. That's why this is considered to be something which you can almost say would surpass individual nafal ibadah in that sense. But it wouldn't give you the same benefits as nafal ibadah. Okay, I'm going to go off Insta. So, Insta people, take care, inshallah. QnA. Ibi Mufti is saying that we are reflections of Allah and inwardly al-haq inside shirk. I don't know, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? What is good character practically, as it seems abstract many times? Yeah, so good character is basically how you interact with other individuals. So imagine this is me and this is you. How do I interact with you? How do I speak to you? How do I respond to you? How do I tolerate your behavior? All of that is good character. It's like, imagine two magnets and you put them close together and they attract or they repel. It's that kind of connection between the two individuals, how the response takes place, how the Abdullah Ahmad wa alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan. Question: how do we deal with difference of opinion amongst those who generally consider themselves Sunni? I'm talking in relation to the Aqidah wars. Do you think we can outgrow these? Of course we can outgrow them, but it just requires people to be more mature, I think. You're always going to get people who are going to be staunch. You're always going to get staunch people on one side, staunch people on the other side. You have to understand the general public, they're not interested in all this kind of stuff. General, there's only a few of these, fans of each one out there. The main thing is you don't have to give up your opinion. You just have to understand to tolerate, to live with other people. That's the most important thing. What is the ruling on skin fades for men permissible? Irfan, regarding hair products such as gel and clay, if it creates a barrier to prevent water to reach the hair during wudu, the Hanafis consider it invalid. So in wudu, if it's totally all the hair, it creates a barrier, you can't touch any part of the hair, then of course, if it creates like a helmet over your head, no. But if it's not that nature, then it's allowed. How do you reconcile this with views suggesting permissibility due to reports of Prophet ﷺ? Yeah. Is your jinn car still running these days? MashaAllah, I fixed my car. Alhamdulillah, I got students to fix it. So I bought the part and they jacked the car up and they fitted on the piece. Alhamdulillah. Sheikh, what is the ruling for self-stimulation, masturbation? If it's appropriate, please share a dalil, pardon me. So the Quran generally mentions this. إِلَّا عَلَىٰ أَزْوَاجِهِمْ أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُهُمْ فَمَنِ ابْتَغَى وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. Whoever seeks anything besides fulfilling themselves with their wife or what their right hands possess, the slave, then is considered to be transgressor. That's the main dalil that they. So this is where generally the scholars use that. If I have oil in my hair and I do ghusl, is my ghusl accepted? Yes. Can you post commentaries on each of the 6 books? I can't do it now, but maybe later on. Yeah, I can maybe do later on, inshallah, if I remember. Sheikh, how do you reconcile the hadith أُرِيتُكُنَّ أَكْثَرَ أَهْلِ النَّارِ? Yeah, so the commentators say this is related to a specific group of women. There was a specific group of women the Prophet ﷺ was talking to, and it was not talking about all the women of the world. The reason for talfiq, not because of ease but necessity due to the community around you not being homogeneous or the madhab not discussing details. Yeah, that seems fine if there was like a definite need for it. Not sure, I just saw a video presenting Kufri statements of the ulama, and that was one of the statements. It focused on Aqidah. Again, unfortunately, people who do these silly debates, what tends to happen, they'll take a statement, they'll give their own version of that statement. It's like they'll ignore all other interpretations of what that statement could possibly mean, and they give one of the most heinous, grave interpretation. So I would just ignore that. Can telling the truth be haram if done without manners? What if I don't understand? I think it is through the Aqidah where everything doesn't exist, only Allah does. If my hair on the side is short and the top is big, difference, is this permissible? Yes. Please, can you share how you maintain energy during the day to carry out your daily commitments? I eat. So I think the main thing is, I think people's bodies are different. So some people may have bodies that require more sleep. Some people, it all depends. I eat twice a day. That's all I eat twice a day. Make sure you eat healthy food. Don't eat too much fatty foods. Don't eat too much, fast foods rather. Sugary, don't eat too much sugary stuff. I do regular exercise. I do cycling. So these are the kind of things I try to maintain. Yeah, cold showers. And if you have a focus of what you need to achieve in the day, the main things you need to achieve, it makes the day more productive. If you don't know what you're going to do today, then I think it becomes, I don't know, what do you do? Tell us a story that taught you something. Jack and the Beanstalk. Yeah. Don't just throw beans anywhere. Don't sell your cow for beans. What kind of story can I tell? Tell us a story that taught you something. Remind me at the end. What is ta'leel versus ba ta'leel and ba sababiyya in verse 95? Surah وَلَن يَتَمَنَّوْهُ أَبَدًا بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ. So ta'leel, it means like Al-Habli said, ba sabab, why not ta'leel? So some people, they use it interchangeably. They'll call ba sababiyya ta'leel, ta'liliya. They just use it synonymously. Besides that, I mean, I can't. Ta'leel could mean like this is the cause. If you look at it from a fiqh point of view, illa means this is the cause for why this thing happened. And the other one, this is the sabab. The sabab in the things that led to this. Yeah, the things that led to that domino effect. That would be the sabab. The ta'leel, the illa is something which is like the reason for why this happened. The legal cause for why this happened. That's the only thing I think of. وَلَن يَتَمَنَّ أَبَدًا بِمَا قَدَّمَ. So they, the Ahl Kitab, they will not wish for death ever due to what their hands have put forward. Because of what their hands have put forward. Lastly, if someone says something like, that's clearly the universe telling you to do this, is that not necessarily. That's just like a figurative statement. That is. That's like saying, I was so fortunate that I got saved. I was so fortunate for this. So they obviously are not denying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has full volition of everything. Talking about eating, how was your diet going where you don't eat in the morning? Okay, back guys, I apologize, all that talking I did and no sound. So yeah, when I go Umrah, inshallah, I will shave my head. And any good works on Usul, I don't know, not sure. No sound, no sound, no sound. Yeah, battery died in the mic. Look at that. After the diet question. Who you're talking to, muted, I wish I could lip read. That's it. See that? Teaching you guys the importance of having, life skills. Everyone's violating. His reaction. Sheikh, where is it? Answer all the questions now. Sheikh, is it permissible for a sheikh to teach a class with men and women separated by area, but the teacher can see the women? Yes, I would say it's permissible, so long as the women are appropriately dressed. Yeah, Allah. So the sound went off in the diet one. I can't even remember where that is now. So how was your diet in not eating in the morning going? So I do eat in the morning. I eat in the morning and then late afternoon. So yeah, what I do is if I'm not working, I'll delay my eating in the morning till about 11 o'clock, 11:30 in the morning. So like brunch. غاية versus Fath al-Qadir. Fath al-Qadir is more of a usuli hadith discussion. Ghaya is not that much of a hadith discussion. Ghaya is more like it's more like a riwayat discussion of riwayat of the madhab and the ta'lilat. But Fath al-Qadir, I mean, I haven't read as much. I read more Fath al-Qadir than I have of Ghaya. Ghaya is only a recent one that I've come across because of the new publication. A brother I know lost loads of weight just from cutting out sugar and doing intermittent fasting. Yeah. Sugar, honestly, so basically sugar means cut out, you stop eating bread, white bread, stop eating rice even, cut down on rice, stop eating rotis, sugars, right? Lots of types of fruit that contains a lot of sugars. Cut these out, and you'll see how much it's gonna impact you. Yeah, you feel more healthy, you feel more energetic, naturally feel more. Hunger actually makes you more energetic. I found that myself. If you actually stay hungry longer, you actually feel more energetic. So that's why some people do this which water diet, and they say after day 3, that's when your body starts to go into keto mode and start to burn off all that kind of stored fat. In your intestines, all the rubbish that's been gathering up for I don't know how many years that hasn't been digested properly. You just clean all that out. Your body just uses everything it can. This might have been the longest live stream. No, I don't think so, bro. The longest you haven't seen, the longest, and I remember olden days, longest live stream, sometime like 2 hours, 3 hours. You're going to grow it out again, inshallah. Mufti, we can't stop eating rotis. Yeah, no. Or eat brown roti, brown flour. What is your sleep habit routine? My sleep habit routine is probably, after I come back from work, that's my time to unwind and do all my reading I have to do all my writing I have to do. Yeah, that's the kind of time which I use for a lot of my reading time. So sometimes I can go into like 12:30, 1 o'clock even, sometimes 1:30, depending on how much reading I have to do. And sometimes the thing with me reading is if I'm really interested in reading, what can happen to me is I can just become like really addicted to it. I'll just like, if I've read one thing and I'm curious about a particular point, I'll read another thing, another chapter of another book, and I'll try to kind of do that. And then I've got a lot of preparation for lessons to do as well, especially for my iftar lessons. I have to organize it properly. I have to get questions ready. I have to sort out all students' issues, give feedback on questions that they've sent me. So this year the iftar has been quite a lot for me this year because we've had a lot of students. So I think in the future I'm just going to limit it to I'm just going to be taking on a limited number of students, just so that it becomes more practical. Is breaking womb sibling ties haram? If there is no valid reason for why you're breaking them, then yes, it will be considered to be sinful. So what's the difference between ba of ta'leel and lam of ta'leel? So ba of ta'leel depends on the sentence, really. It depends on the sentence. So ba normally comes for ilsaq. Yeah, ilsaq. So it has something which is joined with something. And li comes for like for, as in something which was for a particular thing. So like if I said قرأت هذا الكتاب للامتحان. So that's ta'leel, but that is for the exam, as in order preparation for the exam. Whereas ba ta'leel, you'd use it in sense like بصحبة الأستاذ بلغت ما بلغت. Because of the, so it's not like for the suhbah of ustad. Does that make sense? It's because of. So one we will translate in English as for, and the other one because. Sheikh, in respect to my previous question about a teacher teaching in front of opposite gender, can you please share a dalil? Yes, because this was something that was done. This is something that was done in the past. The Prophet ﷺ, Sahaba radiallahu anhum. In other words, interaction. The whole point of hijab is that the men can interact with the women. That was the whole point. So what you would have to do is you would have to bring a proof to show that it's not allowed. Does that make sense? So you would have to bring a proof to show that it's not allowed. Like as in, a man is not allowed to. The woman is covered up. If she wears niqab, she has a niqab on, or if she just doesn't wear a niqab. Um, yeah, and this would be considered to be like something in today's times, obviously in universities and schools and colleges where there's many Muslim teachers. It would be practically impossible to have that. Yeah, so if you could bring a dalil to show that it's not allowed, because generally in fiqh, everything is allowed unless proven otherwise. That's the general ruling. There are certain hadith that attribute shirk to an action. So is shirk a grading in fiqh? It is dalil with belief. Why do primer creed books not mention actions of shirk? Is it just assumed that attribute shirk to an action? Yeah, so those actions that this is shirk, it doesn't mean that it's belief shirk. It just means it's an action of people who are associated to shirk. That's what it means. So for example, whoever does not pray their salat faqad ashraka, or has gone into shirk, meaning this is an action which is related to associate to shirk. Just like, for example, the Prophet ﷺ may say, "Man taraka salat faqad kafar." So it doesn't mean they've left the fold of Islam. It means they have done something which is of the actions of kufr. Do you ever fall asleep while reading a book? I used to in the past. Yeah, I remember madrasa so many times. Fall asleep, knock out a book on my chest. Share any tips for memorizing the Ghair Munsarif? I learned it before. Yeah, I've got a tip for learning Munsarif. Yeah, let me tell you my tip. My tip is listen to this, okay? A feminine alif noon went to the compound of a non-Arab and rendered him into a wazni fi'l. A feminine alif noon went to the compound of a non-Arab and rendered him into a wazn fi'l. A feminine alif noon went to the compound of a non-Arab and rendered him into a wazn fi'l. So you understand those 6 things? Feminine, alif noon, compound, non-Arab, rendered wazn fi'l. So if you have a name which is feminine, generally there are some exemptions. Then, like for example, Fatima, غير منصرف. If you have a name which has alif noon at the end, zaida, like Salman, غير منصرف. If you have feminine, if you have compound, murakkab, like ba'labak, yeah, ba'labak, then this is غير منصرف. Non-Arab, ujma, so Ibrahim, name, and rendered, it means adjusted, so like Umar, a name, and then wazn fi'l is like Ahmad. These are 6 names, alams, with one of these 6. And then the wasf comes with 3 things. So wasf comes with alif noon, yeah, ghadban. Wasf comes with rendered, like for example ruba', and wasf comes with wazn fi'l, akbar, ahsan. Right, so that's my shortcut way of explaining غير منصرف. خلاص. Okay, you missed my question. You got loads of questions, Saki bro. What is valid reason for breaking ties? I thought you couldn't do it ever. So valid reason could be, let's say for example, someone is commanding you to do shirk, someone who's doing dhulm on you, oppressing you, harming you, having a bad influence on you, those kind of things. Do institutes set particular dress codes for students that they must adhere? Yes. So like a sufa has a dress code for the full time, where it has to be something which is recognized as being like a culturally Islamic dress, like a thawb or a shalwar or kurta or something of that nature. If someone leaves the fold of Islam, should you cut ties off with them, or can you still? So you can still contact them, but if they are becoming like hardcore ex-Muslims and trying to then avoid them, stay away from them. Jazakallah khair, ahlan wa sahlan, wa iyyak, Adam, alaykum salam. Generally, I know that it's impermissible to shake or touch non-mahrams, but would it be okay if I were to shake my uncle's wife's hands? I would say you need to educate them that it's wrong. Yeah, so educate slowly, like maybe not when they're doing it, like you tell them generally. Would it be fine, or should I still stay cautious because of the hadith that says something? Yeah, avoid it. It's impermissible for him to touch. Is it disliked to go back to sleep after praying Fajr? No. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Prophet ﷺ was happy when Khadija and sister came to visit. In what context did the visitation take place? So this is her friend, you mean? Her friend, yeah? Her friend used to come to visit. So just like friends would come to the house, visit. Shirk is associating with Allah, others in essence. Wa alaikum assalam, Nasir Ali, ahlan wa sahlan. How are you? I'm very good, thank you very much. Ahlan wa sahlan, ahlan wa sahlan, wa murikin bye. Alright guys, I'm going to finish it there. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much guys for entertaining me on this nice day. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you wonderful, beautiful people. Give you barakah in your time, wealth, health. And forgive me if I have not answered your question properly or if I've made a mistake in answering. Tell us a story that taught you something. Okay. A story that taught me something. Let me think. Okay. I was trying to think what kind of... So many stories, but just that doesn't come to our mind. Just trying to think what kind of story. I think maybe one would possibly be... Yeah, so there was a guy, I remember, he was from Africa when he was studying, and he always would try to be very sort of independent, like he wouldn't want any help from you, which is sometimes is a kind of strange. Have you noticed that when you want to help someone and they always trying to say they don't need your help, it kind of seems as though they're a bit sort of stuck up. Yeah. And that's why it's good sometimes. It's actually good. I've noticed this. It's good to actually, even if you don't need someone's help, just accept their help for something because you make them feel good. So I thought this guy was a bit strange, I remember. Then I realized later on that this guy actually has a very bad upbringing. Like literally the guy was a non-Muslim, born in a Christian family, and then he decided to accept Islam when he was young, and his family denounced him. They rejected him, kicked him out of the house. He was basically homeless. He would stay in mosques. Then he came to Pakistan to study, and he literally had nothing, like no family. In fact, once what happened was one of the teachers, because he was like in Pakistan for like I don't know how long he was there for, 10 years or 11 years, hadn't gone back home. Whereas many of us would go back home maybe yearly or every other year or third year. And he hadn't gone, so the teacher decided to pay for his ticket to go back home, return ticket. And the guy went home and he had nowhere to go to. So he basically went to his country, stayed in the Tablighi Markas, and even they told him that you can't stay here. And the guy didn't have any money to stay in a hotel. So eventually he just came back. So it's like sometimes when you see people react in a certain way, I think you have to not let your emotions react too quick. Always try to think to yourself, you know what? You don't know what he's going through. You don't know what she's going through. You don't know what background problems they've had. Maybe they've had a bad experience with their parents. Maybe they had a bad experience with drugs. Maybe they had a bad experience with health conditions. Maybe, and the one of the things I find, especially with students, is that they don't tell you all the information about themselves, and it's understandable. So once that kind of happens, they kind of get upset when the teacher doesn't understand them. Sometimes I have lots of students and I don't know what they're going through. And if you don't know what they're going through and you're kind of like telling them, how come you didn't turn up on this day? How come you're like this? How come you're like this? It's that because there's no transparency between you and them, it makes them feel as though they're being treated wrongly, which they're not being treated wrongly. It's just that what the experience that they've gone through, it magnifies, amplifies that sort of like that internal feeling that they're experiencing. So this is why I think never sort of like come to a judgment on someone unless you really know them very well. Yeah, it's very important. I personally think, especially online, it's a big problem. Someone will say something without even trying to do husn al-dhan of what they're saying or anything. Straight away, people will make judgments and already made a decision. And then later on, they find out this was the reality of what this person was going through. This is the problem. It's like, for example, there's a Sahabi, and this Sahabi, even after wine was made banned, he carried on drinking wine. He couldn't, like, he had addiction to it. He couldn't stop. So he was caught several times. He was lashed. And on one occasion, when he was lashed, the Prophet, someone kind of said something really bad about him. So the Prophet said, don't say that. You don't know how much he loves Allah and the Messenger. Meaning the Prophet, he understood he could connect with people at a level that others couldn't. He understood the problems they were going through. He kind of realized that there was more to the person than what could be seen on the outside. So I think that's also something people have to appreciate as well. It's about being like, this is one of the qualities of the Prophet ﷺ that we need to bring inside of ourselves. Understanding people more, being more compassionate. Compassionate in the sense you're more like listening, you're a good listener, empathizing with them, that kind of stuff. But nowadays, obviously, people just like to throw the fatwas, man. What do you guys think? Jazakallah khair, Farhan. Ameen. Please, can I ask one more question? Go on, ask. After a session like this, would someone say the dua at the end of the gathering? Yes, we definitely recommend it. With regards to Umrah trip, yes, you can ask. Tell us to go-to book on fiqh when you were a student and doing muraja. I think I used to read a lot of. It depends on which year I was in. So in the early years, I would just read a lot of Hashia. The Hashiyas, I would read it a lot. And then maybe start reading something, Jawharat al-Nayyar, if I could read it. And then maybe even reading, after that, maybe Fathul Qadir, if I could read it. Try to read it, Binaya. These are the kind of books I would try to read. When do I have to go? When do I have to book it? Like, is there a deadline? I don't know, I mean, if all the places are taken up, then it's going to be too late, isn't it? So it's first come, first serve. What's your favorite subject? So what I would suggest is trying to contact the tour operators, the guys who are running it, and ask them, what's your favorite subject? Quran. At the khatam of books, usually a group dua is done. MashaAllah, is the best place to stay. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. I was referring to this dua, yes. After what type of gathering should this dua? So any gathering. May Allah give us hikmah, ameen. Mufti, how come you stopped shaving your mustache? I don't know, I think after my granddad passed away, I was just like not shaving, and then I just thought, you know what, this is the new look now. This is the kind of like, new branding, the new Laqad Zaman branding. Remember in the beginning, people would say, you look badmash, you look like a criminal. Yeah, you look like someone going against the sunnah. Jazakallah khair wa iyyakum. May Allah grant us the company of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ameen, ameen. Beautiful dua. I got an interesting hypothesis, observation. Would love to hear your thoughts. Go on. Are you the scholar leading the potential Umrah trip? Yes, inshallah. There's going to be myself and Sheikh Yasir Hanafi as well. I didn't mention that there. So myself and Sheikh Yasir Hanafi, inshallah. So it's going to be, interesting, inshallah. Sheikh Yasir is a nice guy to travel with. Wish you to come Canada, inshallah. I was actually invited to Canada to come for a charity event just for the weekend once. But it was a 15-hour flight. I was thinking, 15-hour flight, headache, man. The biggest enemy of the ulama are the ulama. Kya baat hai, bhai, Allah. So the first the ulama is al-ma'hud fi dhihn. And the second the ulama is another type of ma'hud fi dhihn. Allah, kya baat Masir Ali. Such basirat, such, insight. Wait, you're taking a group? Yasser AK Hanafi. Where's the Umrah info? I'll put it up, inshallah, on the Telegram. Inshallah. You should make tawbah. We could have seen you. That's true, You can imagine I could have gone to Canada in the cold weather. Oh. It was a place called, begins with E. Is there some place called E on the west coast? I forgot what it's called. Edmonton? Is it Edmonton? I don't know, because of E. Somewhere down there. I wasn't even thinking of the ma'hud. I was just talking about. I'm just thinking of the usul, my brother. I'm just thinking of the usul here. Yeah, because that's how my brain works. The biggest enemy here. What kind of biggest is this? What does it mean? Is it biggest as in على الإطلاق مطلقا, or is it biggest إضافي? Enemy. What kind of sense enemy? Is it majaz enemy? Is it haqiqi enemy? MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair. Ahlan wa sahlan, TZ. Ahlan wa sahlan, Jazakallah khair for your kind donation. Edmonton, yeah? Yeah, Edmonton. Inshallah, one day, make dua, guys. I would love to do, let me tell you what my dream. I would love to travel, but I would love to more specifically travel to teach, honestly. If I could. If I had organizations that contacted me and said, look, we would like you to come for 1 week in this place and teach Quranic Arabic intensive. Yeah. A 10-day course where you teach Quranic Arabic intensive, and maybe even like evolution of fiqh or something, or anything of that line, or maybe Quduri or something. And then inshallah I would love to do that. That's maybe in the future, maybe. And obviously have some nice tours as well of the place, and eat some nice food with you guys as well. But that's I wouldn't like to travel just for the sake of traveling. I would like to travel to benefit people. That's what I would like to do. So at the moment, I'm not really kind of organized in that sense. But yeah, why not? Inshallah, can be done. Great, very beneficial session. Jazakallah khair. Teach Hidayah in 1 month. Not Hidayah, but you could teach large sections of important concepts of Hidayah that will help students. I think that's possible. You teach, because remember, Hidayah ideally should be taught entirely, but Quduri, I think major sections of Quduri could be taught in a way that could really like vamp up, enhance the students' ability to understand the concepts, and usul as well. Definitely usul, the entire usul fiqh can be taught in a month. Yeah, that can be taught without doubt. Inshallah. All right, guys, take care and have a nice one. Yeah. Jazakumullah khair, TZ, for your kind donation. May Allah bless you and everyone else. Why not do what you just mentioned as a course? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I can't do it on my YouTube channel because obviously my timings and all that. But this was like, you have to have students in front of you. I have to have students in front of me where you have interaction. Yeah, you kind of bounce off them, because it requires, these sciences are not just taught, they're actually discussed, debated. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Ameen. All right, guys, take care, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Ahlan wa sahlan.